Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt, once again from Divination Counseling Service. I'm back here with you today because I want to start up those ingress charts, the moon ingress charts that I had done in writing for the website. I'm totally changing my format on a lot of things in the last couple of weeks. So I haven't done them for, I'm going to say at least a week. But I'm back, and it's interesting because I'm going to start it with the Aries ingress. We're going to start right at the beginning. And I want to point out a couple of things on this chart. So realize that this chart's only going to be in effect for a couple of days, but it gives us an idea what the next couple of days might be like. Now, one of the things I want to point out, and I'm going to just take my little cursor here and show you, is we have a 2-degree, 55-minute midheaven. And midheaven and the ascendant are our time. Okay, so that's what makes up the time of the chart. In this case, it was, if you're on the Eastern Daylight Savings Time, it would have been at 9:36 a.m. that morning on the 17th. So as I look at this chart, a couple of things jump out before I even get to the moon report. Number one, let's look at the sun here, which is in a wide sextile here to this ascendant, or trine to the descendant. So you kind of get the feeling that people are having or meeting some of their goals. Here's the 11th house. And so, but we're still stuck. We still have this very strong Adamitas here in a very tight trine to Saturn in Aquarius. So you have this, see this 155? Look at that. Okay? So you have this really tight trine here, 132 to 155. And that trine, even though Saturn has now started to go backward, its retrograde motion, they're still really strongly in effect. So even though, look at this quarantine, even though people are beginning to emerge, it is still heavily restricted, okay, as it should be. So we have to be careful. Adamitas to Saturn, it's pretty heavy stuff right there at a trine. And it just gives me an opportunity to talk about trines for a second. We think about trines in astrology when we're doing natal work as something good. Now remember that in astrology, we don't like to equate good or bad to anything, and that goes for things like trines. When a trine energy happens, it means, like, let's take, our restrictions, for example. We're restricted by Adamitas and Saturn, and they're like saying, I love my teacher, Martha Lang Westcott, has a saying that one party does something, and the other party swears to it. So it's not always good, because sometimes it's a reinforcement of things that are already difficult, like Adamitas to Saturn. It's already difficult. But obviously we're faring well. Again, I only see continued healing in all the charts. I know that, I'm using a bad situation for an example, but there's always growth in every opportunity, and this situation is no different. So we're having an opportunity to really kind of, heal and heal the planet while we're at it. Now, the interesting thing is that I want to point out that this moon is up here at the midheaven, so we're thinking about our future, the midheaven. But the moon is coming in from the 9th house, so it's not in the 10th yet. So it's like we're moving into our future. We're changing things due to restriction, due to wanting to do things right for other people. It's the only thing that we can do to be human, to look out for our neighbor. So especially as Saturn is in Aquarius, the sign of the humanitarian. But also truth is important right now, so I'll get to that in a second. But right now, it's real important that we look out for one another, and we're headed in that direction. We're doing really well with it, actually. And as a result, our future does look really, really good. So it's a healing concept. So I talk about that in some of the other videos I've done for the longer term planets, that we really are in a healing process here. So as I talk about the moon being here from the ninth, and the ninth meaning changes, the fact that it's the Aries point also means that we're going to be paying attention to what's going on in the outer world. Remember, Saturn, humanitarian sign. We got to think about other people now. We don't want to kill anybody, but we also want to look toward how other countries, ninth house, foreign, how are they doing it? How are they coping? What are their numbers? How are they doing? So I wanted to put this in perspective of today and now, which I'm going to start doing with all the ingresses. No, I'm not going to give you any opinions. I'm not going to get involved politically. But I will say to you, that is what's going on in the greater world. So as we look at this, I want to point out another trine here, also in the ninth house, featured in the ninth house. Our ascendant, our day-to-day reality, is within 36-minute trine to Neptune. We still don't know what's going on, and we really do not know the illness. We're learning, but we don't know, okay? So in order for us to continue living, moon to the midheaven, going and forward into the future, we are going to have to look at some of these aspects of the moon, which is we have to look at things differently, okay? Because the moon is conjuncting Chiron. And when I mean differently, I am talking out of the box. I am talking alternative, okay? Because that's the manner in which we are dealing. The other thing I want to point out is the opposition here to the moon with Juno. Now, this is putting an emphasis on our one-to-one relationships. And it's an opposition. And Juno is retrograde. So we are looking at one-on-one, and the businesses we're going to start really looking at are the one-on-one businesses, okay? And the reason why I want to bring this up too, the reason why businesses, because there is an inconjunct to Apollon in Scorpio right here, okay? Which is also it's also in aspect through an inconjunct. And now an inconjunct, the reason why it's really significant, because an inconjunct's got to be really tight orb. You don't mess around with that. That's got to be right on the money. Now, it is almost 3 degrees away from that moon. So you think, nah. However, the moon, first of all, you can go a little wider on a moon anyway, but that's not why. What's why is, look up here. 1 minute of orb. I would say that's an aspect. So there's opportunity here for business. There's an opportunity if you're okay with thinking alternatively. Chiron, out of the box to the moon, to the public. Let's look at this public out of the box. And that's where we're going to find our solutions. And that's going to be our way out. And that's all happening, because let's face it, people, we're really getting, you know, even if we're in total agreement that we should stay in lockdown as long as we need to make sure we're all healthy and all of that, but it really is about, you know, maybe we're just sick of being in the house. South Node, Cupido, get me out of this house, it's oppressive, or get me away from this family, or get me, you know, or if you work in a hospital, you know, so that South Node to Cupido is going to play out whether you're stuck in a hospital, and because you work in a hospital, you have to then suffer with regards to your own family, or whether you're one of the people such as myself, where we're just kind of stuck in the house and slowly meandering toward whatever is okay by our governors. Anyway, I wanted to do it right with real time. That way we have some real practical, what's the word I want to use? Practical delineation, so that you can look at this and say, oh yeah, I think that did happen. That helps us learn. So I hope that was helpful. As always, if you ever want to get in touch with me, please do so through divinationcounselingservice.org. I would love to hear from you. Also, share, like, do whatever people do in these social platforms. In any event, until we meet again, happy readings.